Hi everyone, welcome back to JavaScript 101, and in this video I'm going to be talking about conditionals. So conditionals are just ways in which you can run specific code based on specific conditions. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to give an example of a conditional. We can use the keyword if here, and then the parentheses, and in the parentheses we can put a condition here, and then we have a curly brace here, and then we want to put whatever code we want to execute over here. So in this conditional here, this is an if statement. So basically, if this condition is satisfied, then we are going to execute some code here. If it's not, then we're just going to skip through these blocks of code and then just run through the script there. So what do we put in this parentheses here? What is the condition we can put? So in the previous video we talked about comparisons, so we're going to do that. I'm going to create a variable called temp, and I'm going to give a value of 15, and then I'm going to put a comparison here and say temp is less than 20. So in this instance it evaluates to true. So you'll execute a code here which I'm going to put console.log. Gonna log a string here, and I'm going to say it's too cold. Skip here, log here. So if I run this code, it will say console.log is too cold, and if the temp is 21, now it evaluates to false. This will not run anymore. It will not run anything. So if you want to run something, if your condition is not satisfied, what you can do is you can put an else statement. So an else statement using the else keyword here with curly braces, and then you console log something else. It's just right. So it's just right. And if I run this now, it will run there. It's just right. So this is just for a single condition. If you want multiple conditions, what you can do is you can say else if, and then parentheses again, another condition. I'm going to say temp is greater than 25, and I'm going to do something else. When I console log it's too hot. So now if I set this temp to 26, it's the second statement, and it says it's too hot. So that is your conditionals here. We've done an if statement, an else if statement, and then else statement there. So the next thing I want to talk about is these conditions here. So we used a comparison here, but this does not always have to be the way. So in JavaScript, we also talked about what are truthy values and what are false values. So an example of a truthy value of or an example of a false value is the number 0. So number 0 evaluates to false, and any non-zero number you put there, just put 1, evaluates true. So in this scenario here, the second block of code will be run. So if I run this, it will say it's too hot. So if I swap this to out 1 and 0, it will say it's too cold. So 1 is a truthy value, 0 is a falsy value. The same thing goes for your undefined. This evaluates to false, or your empty string. Your empty string evaluates to false, but if there are text in your string, then it evaluates to true. So you can put truthy or falsy values in these parentheses as your condition, and you can, and it's a perfectly legitimate conditional here. So the next thing, or the last thing I want to talk about, is your question mark operator. So the question mark operator basically provides like a shortcut for your conditionals. So I'm going to show you how to use it. We have a variable called temp here. So what we do is we have a condition, and then we use the question mark operator here, and what we have is a true value. So a true value, and then we put a colon there, and then we put a false value. So basically what this statement does is we have a variable temp, and based on this condition, if it is true, then it will set it to the true value. If it is false, it will set it to the false value. So I'm just gonna put just a boolean of true here, and I'm gonna set the values to 1 and 2. So if I run this here, I'm gonna console log here. I'm gonna log this tab here. If I run this, it will say 1. So we've just basically assigned a value of 1, and if this condition is false here, it will set it to 2. So that is your question mark operator. You can also execute basically specific code in these values here. So if I run this, it will log out there. So that is your question mark operator, but this really is not the recommended way if you want to execute specific code. If you want to do that, if you want to execute some code, best you leave that to the statements and you just use maybe conditional assignments of variables using these question marks there. So that's it for conditionals. In the next video, we're going to talk about switch, which is another conditional, but it has different use cases. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give a like, subscribe, and hit the bell for your notifications. And I'll see you in the next video.